and then it kind of hides down here. It's recording everything on my screen right now. So it's just going to be recording my voice, hopefully loud enough so that you'll be able to hear it. And let me take this off because it's going to. Okay, so I've clicked on the Perks button, and then under Tools, I clicked on Collaborate. So here it is. I'm going to create a session. So I'm going to click on this button. And by default, it always names the session with basically the ID of the course you're in. So I'm going to give this session a different name, and I'm just going to call it Perks Chemistry. If you knew in advance you were going to be sharing something across a bunch of Blackboard classes, you could go ahead and say that it was shared and then pick those other courses. I'm just going to say this is just going to be used in this class for right now. You can share those recordings later on. The schedule. This is for this session, this Collaborate session. For the entire time, I'm going to leave it open to record.
Summer session.
So I'm going to say let's start it today, and I'm going to end it on I don't know, September 21st. All right, good enough. This is the early session entry. It's 1:26 now. I'm never going to get done in the next 4 minutes with all these settings and talking at you. So I'm going to say let's start it at 1:45, and I want, because if I started it at 1:30 and I actually finished all these settings at 1:35, it would tell me, oh, so sorry, you can't start something retroactively. And I would have to go back and switch everything, and I would lose all the changes I've made. So it's a pain in the butt. You just have to kind of be prepared for that. And I'm going to say early session entry is 30 minutes. This is more important when you're doing one of those synchronous sessions, like you're going to do office hours, but you don't want students to log into your session an hour in advance. You just want to get them in 15 minutes at a time. It's just like any webinar. If you've ever attended any webinar, you can't log in the day before. Okay, and then let me draw your attention to a couple things. These choices up here are important, so we want to think about those. So there are 4 tabs across the top, so don't get frisky and just do the first page and then hit submit. You got to go back and do those other tabs, okay? So here are the session attributes. The recording is manual, so there's always when you start a Collaborate session, it just doesn't always automatically start recording. There's a record button, right? And it'll remind you, do you want to record? You can say yes or no. You can say no and then hit the record button later and go back and forth. Again, these attributes are going to be more important for if you were doing a synchronous session. You don't care that you could have 3 people with a microphone at once or 3 different cameras at once. Supervised, just so you know, in case you ever do a live one, supervised means that moderators view all chat messages. There's a little chat block in the corner where people can, students can chat, and they can send private messages to each other. If you set this up as supervised, you see all those messages. So I always tell my students that I always set it up as supervised, but then I always warn the students ahead of time and at the beginning of the session, by the way, this is supervised. So halfway through my lecture, if you start chatting with each other saying how boring Karen is, I'm going to see those messages. So watch your mouth, Participants can have access to a variety of things, a whiteboard and some other things. You can force them to raise hand on entry. That's good for office hours if you want to queue them up in order, like who was first, who gets to ask that question first. Allow in-session invitations. This lets you send people while you're in a recording or while you're in a session, a live class. You can send somebody in Timbuktu a URL and say, here, join in. So you could be having a live class and suddenly you think, oh, I have this colleague in, California. They'd be awesome to answer this question. Let me send them a quick email. You send them the URL, they join in, and poof, they're right there live with you. And hiding names in recordings, I suppose, for some weird FERPA reason or something if you wanted to do this, but you're not going to have any students in, so it doesn't really matter. You can integrate with the Grade Center. Again, this isn't really going to matter unless you want to mandate that they watch a recording and then get a grade for it, but you can't actually verify that they've watched a whole recording. All you can do is verify that they poked the button to start the recording, and you can do that by using statistics tracking or something anyway. So okay, so participation. Do you want anybody else to have access in your session? Like if you were going to have Tara come in and lecture with you or somebody else participate with you, you'd want to make sure that they had the appropriate access. In this case, you don't really care. So, like I'm here.
But this is for synchronous, though, still, isn't it? Or not?
Well, yeah. So while you're synchronous, like while you're recording, did you want anybody else to be able to get in and have access as a moderator? So to be able to upload documents or anything, if I were going to add you in, I would do it like that. So basically the session that I'm creating right now, the Collaborate session I'm creating right now, when you leave here, you'll be able to go back to your office, you'll be able to log in to Blackboard, and you'll see in one of your organizations or courses, you'll see a Collaborate training course. You're in here as an instructor, so it's just like another course for you. You'll be able to click on this perks link, and you'll be able to go into this and play around in this particular session because I just added you in as a moderator. So this isn't the one you're going to want to use to record your stuff in, but you can mess around in here, and you and I will know, and nobody else will care.
Okay.
Okay, so this is important. You're going to want to click that link right there. This is guest invitees to allow unregistered guests. If you click this link, it just allows you to get the URL for a recording or a session much easier. You should be able to link to it in Blackboard anyway, but maybe some student will say, oh hey, Blackboard's down, or I can't log into Blackboard for some reason, or I've been made unavailable in Blackboard. Please send me your lecture link. Or I'm not registered in your class yet, but I want to go ahead and watch the lecture. You can go into Blackboard and you're going to be able to get a link, just a URL for that recording, and you could just send it to them, even if they're not even a UMBC student. Right? So you could send it and they'll be able to access it. They don't have to have access to Blackboard to get into it. So clicking that box just makes your life a lot easier. If you were doing a live session and you knew people from off campus that weren't affiliated with UMBC and you wanted to go ahead and add them in here, you could, and they would automatically get an email that would say, hey, here's this session, click here to join in. Sharing, don't worry about the preloads. These are the sorts of files that you can upload into Collaborate. So let's see. Oh, actually, these are the sorts. These are the sorts of files that you can do ahead of time. These are whiteboard files. So what you can do is upload a bunch of content and then save it as a whiteboard file if you thought you were going to use it again at some other point in time. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about the telephony. Don't worry about the session notes. There's no third-party telephony anyway, so it doesn't make any difference for you. And then the content area. In this link, what you're really doing is saying, this is the name of the link for this session that I'm creating, and this is where I want to put it. So it's kind of like in Blackboard when you can go behind the scenes in the control panel and you can create a quiz, but it's not deployed for students. Then you have to go someplace and actually deploy the quiz for students. And at that stage, you can give the quiz a different name or whatever else you want. It's the same thing here. We're sort of creating a session behind the scenes. And in this screen here, we're saying what do we want to call the link to that session that students will see, and then where do we want to put it. So link to Mark's session. I'm just going to give it a different name than what I gave before, just to kind of show you what I mean. And we want to put it under this menu button. So I'm going to click there. Okay. And then these options here, these date and time restrictions, those are the date and time restrictions for the link. So the session might be open, but the link to the session only lasts for X period of time. So just kind of bear that in mind, right? That's like a lot of other features in Blackboard. Sometimes you might have a discussion board actually open, but there's a link to the discussion board that's only open for a narrow span of time. I'm not going to select any dates there. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit because we finished all of those things. Hopefully something, yeah, so it says session was created successfully. To invite unregistered guests to this session called Chemistry, use the following link. So, we could send this link to anybody on Earth with an internet connection, and they could click on it and they could join in to collaborate.
Okay.
Okay? And there's other ways to get this later on. So if I close this little window, it's okay, I can get that link again. So here's the session I just created. So let me just show you a couple ways to get to it. So I'm a student and I come to this class. I come here. I can either click on Perks and see, remember I said the link had a different name. It says link to Mark's session. I can click here and that'll open up my Collaborate session. Or under Tools, I could come to Blackboard Collaborate, as long as you haven't made it unavailable. And I would see all the various sessions that are here, right? So I would need to know what the name of it is. Oh, it's Perks Chemistry. And I could click there to either join it or, you know, do various things to it. So let's just see what happens when I come here. And I'm just going to, whoops, click on the link. So this is what it would look like.
On my course, this would be labeled course videos or something
It
like
could be
that.
course videos.
Yeah.
And then
Link to course videos.
Yeah, link to course videos. And you might have a, you know, you might call this like live session. You might not even want to put a link to it for students to see, because you might be creating videos for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And while you're lecturing sometime at night, you know, recording the lecture, you don't want a student who's live in your class to go click on the link and say, oh, I wonder what Dr. Perps is doing. And then, you know, go in and suddenly show up while you're actually recording a lecture at home. You might not care, and the likelihood that that would happen is pretty low, but you probably don't want it to happen.
How do I avoid it?
You just wouldn't put a link to this session anywhere. So I can delete this.
So then they'd have to get through it through the tools.
Yeah, so I can delete this, and then it'll be here, and students still will be able to see it, but they won't ever really find it. Okay, so instead, I'm going to join here. Okay, so it's telling me that I'm going to join. All right, so what it just did, it's going to download a JNLP file, or sometimes, depends on what kind of machine you have. You have a Mac and then you use Linux or something else. You're going to have to use Mac or PC. And you're going to have the right version of Java, or an acceptable version of Java. There's not a right version. So my browser, Safari, is set to automatically download files. Some browsers are set to ask you, do you want me to open this? You know, what do you want me to open it with? There's a Java Web Start application that will open Java files. But Safari just, you know, automatically downloads it and tells me I just downloaded it.
Safari. I'm finding a lot of limitations of Firefox on Mac.
Firefox gets a little squirrely on a Mac sometimes, and it's every time you know, it's a new release every other week, and then there's a new squirreliness. They fix the old one, but there's something new that happens. So I'm just going to double click this. And hopefully it will open up. Yes, okay, I saw something flash. All right, see that little icon right there? That's the Collaborate icon. So it's opening up Collaborate. So I got to wait a second.
Now now the students are viewing, or I'm recording at this point?
You're not even recording yet. You're just opening the thing that you're going to record in. We're recording the whole mess with Camtasia.
Now when the students go to Tools and Collaborate,
I'll show you what it looks like. So we'll record a little bit, and then we'll go in as a student and look and see what it looks like as a recording. So it says, you know, what's your connection speed? I usually would default to whatever it says. And then it's going to say connecting to host, authenticating, yada, yada, yada. And now we're in, okay? All right, let's just make sure our sound is still up. If you ever get a little error message that says, you know, sorry, didn't connect, just try it again a couple times. I only have ever gotten that error message downstairs in 025. It's something about the network down there. It beats the heck out of me. But the second time I hit it, it always logs into Collaborate. I don't know what the deal is. So here's my video panel. And there's a chat panel. It typically would look like this. This is sort of the normal way it's set up. So chat's down at the bottom, so you can chat here, right? And so there's chat messages. You can put these cute little, you know, these things in there, right? This will show you any participants. So currently it only shows me because I'm the only one logged in. This is the video. So if I wanted to turn my camera on, hey, there, now we see Mark, right? So we can leave you there, or we can turn it off. And 2 or 3 places that are really important. It says recording not started. Do we want to start recording now? I'm going to go ahead and start recording. So I'm going to hit the start button.
Recording started.
It tells you that you're starting to record. You hear that voice, so you know your sound is okay. Okay? You know you're recording because it says it's recording up here.
and where do you stop that recording?
Yeah, you just hit the recording button again.
Okay.
If I want to start recording my voice, though, in Collaborate, I have to push this talk button down just once. Now it's going to record. Now Collaborate is recording my voice, all right, and whatever else I do on here. So remember, Camtasia Relay kind of behind the scenes is recording everything that's on my screen and everything. But now Collaborate is actually recording my voice. So if you were doing a synchronous session, in order for a student to talk, they would have to hit the talk button. And see, we can tell I'm talking now because the little microphone. No, that's me actually.
Really?
I don't have any kids yet. I know. Amazing, right? Amazing how different we look when we're young and svelte. So you got to push this button. It says turn on the microphone. If I push that, microphone's off. Push it, now microphone's back on. All right. If you're doing this from home and you have a really lousy internet signal like I do, just watch this, because sometimes this little microphone symbol will go to, it won't go to the one with the little X through it, but it'll go to, it'll be red and show like some little lines on it. And that just shows that basically your internet signal's crap.
Does it work for wireless? Can I do it on
wireless? Yeah, I do it. So we don't have, I mean, all I have is a MiFi modem at home. And so my MiFi modem is hooked up upstairs, and I'll be downstairs with my laptop hanging out recording stuff at home. And it works fine unless there's some hellacious storm that somehow interferes with this.
Yeah, even my Mac in my office I use wirelessly. I haven't.
Yeah, this is hooked up wirelessly either to. Yeah. This is hooked up to either EduRoam or Campus Wireless or whatever all the time. So yeah, it'll work fine. Okay, get rid of that little thing. Okay, so then the other buttons. So this is the whiteboard button. You have some controls here. So if you wanted to,
I'll be using my tablet for that.
Draw, whatever. So whatever's on your tablet, as long as it shows up on your computer screen, then you're fine.
In that palette there, this Collaborate palette.
Yeah, it's got to show up in this Collaborate palette. So there's this button, which is an application sharing, and that's probably what you're going to use, I bet. So I could share an application. So whatever I have open on my desktop here, I could share, I don't know, what do I have? Safari.
No, well, how about what would Microsoft Word be?
Well, yeah, okay, so I could share this. Do I have anything open? Now sharing applications, never. Okay, so it's sharing Word. Let's see, new blank document. There we go. So it's going to be sharing basically everything. Everything that's bounded in yellow is being shared right now.
And that's going to be part of the video?
Yeah, the video
is... The screencast?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's almost like Camtasia then. I mean, if you're sharing the whole screen.
Well, you can share applications, or you can share. So you could share individual applications. I can close this down.
How about a PDF? Like an Adobe.
Sure, you'd need to have Adobe open first. Let's see. Do I have something open? Open recent file. Oh, those are my pay stubs. We don't want to open those. Here, let's open this. Okay, so I could start sharing. I could share this. Now it's just sharing just the screen. See how it's just in yellow?
So that now is what the students would see in the screencast instead of this?
Yeah, this is what they're going to be seeing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I'm not restricted to PowerPoint for...
No.
Okay.
The idea would be you should open it. So notice we haven't actually imported anything into this session yet. If you were running this live, you're really sharing whatever programs you have on your computer with everybody else. So if you flip from page to page real fast, there's always a delay because it's...
No. Well, this is still late at night at home, and I'm, creating the video for the next day.
Yeah. So you can share pretty much, like if all your lectures are in PDFs or whatever, right? So you can just share. I would just have Adobe Acrobat open and those lecture files open, and then just pull up whatever file and share that, and then talk about it, lecture,
and
blah 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 blah, draw on it, and then move along to the next thing. So I'm going to close this. If you wanted to share a website, you could go here. I don't know if I really want to do this. So it's going to show, really horrible. So you can show a website. If you were doing this synchronous, all these links would be live to students. So you share a website, they can click on it and they'll go off someplace else. If you wanted to take them somewhere else, like I want to go to today's forecast, see how I have that little follow me box checked? So in the meantime, you might have hit Oklahoma tornado, and then you hit the sports scores, and you're checking out the Orioles, and doing something else. I hit, I don't know, today's forecast.
And this is a browser that's integrated into Collaborate, or is this a Safari browser?
No, this is.
But that's okay, actually.
Yeah, it's not a browser per se. It's just showing it's a URL, so it must be sort of a stripped down browser version in Collaborate. But it's just showing whatever's on the web. And with that follow me button checked, it would drag students back with you. So it's sort of like roping them back. Like, I want you to go with this website. They go to 5 others. Now we're going to go to this website. They get dragged back with you. So they're always, But again, it doesn't really, if all you're doing is recording stuff asynchronously, it doesn't really matter. If you had wanted to load content, and really there's no reason for you because you're doing everything asynchronously. You can just use the application sharing, so this application sharing, and share whatever the heck you have on your computer. It doesn't matter, right? So whatever program you use to look at your tablet, to visualize what's on your tablet, you'll be able to use that. If you were doing something live and you wanted to, let me just go back to the whiteboard, and you wanted to actually upload a PowerPoint deck, so you've got a PowerPoint presentation, you could load content here, and it'll ask you, what do you want to load? So you could load.
Yeah, I think this is what Tara showed me. I think that's why I was prejudiced to PowerPoint.
I think right. So see, you can't load a PDF directly.
But I can share in a reader. I can
but
share
you
a
can
reader app.
Yeah, but you can share the applications. So for you, it might be a lot better. And plus, I use Keynote. Well, you've got to convert Keynote to PowerPoint before it will upload here. It's a pain in the ass. If you use some other...
You can't share Keynote?
Not directly. You can't... No, you can share whatever you want, but you can't load the content into the session unless it's PowerPoint.
Right.
So that's a pain.
Yeah, okay.
So for you, I think what you'll end up doing is just, a new page, if you want a new page, but I think you would just literally... come in and you'd hit the record button.
How do I switch back and forth between the Acrobat sharing and new page?
Like a new blank page?
Yeah.
Well, here. So I'm going to share this now.
So
we're looking at this.
That's got pre-made structures on it.
And you're like blah 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 blah, and you're drawing on it. And then when you're done, you're going to click this button. Hosting. I don't know what was going on there. Oh, I'm going to close that. So it says application is stopped. I can click here to get a new page. I could say whatever I wanted to, or I could go back here and just switch to Word and then share Word, or,
Now, are the students seeing these dialog boxes too as I switch back and forth?
No, they don't see. It'll all look blank.
They're still listening to me though,
They're still listening to you, and it'll be a big blank screen.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then when you're done, you would, take off the talk button, and you'd stop the recording, and you'd say,
recording stopped.
It tells you you've stopped recording. If you started recording again, then it would actually start creating a whole new session. So, it would basically break your lecture into 2 chunks.
Now, how do I label it and save it and all that?
Okay, so this is always a little distressing for people. We're done with it. We're done with this lecture. You just close out of Collaborate.
Oh yeah, Tara told me this is like you hold your breath.
So, and what
you don't know where it is.
And what Tara did the first, was it Tara or was it somebody else? I think it might have been Tara. No, it was Katie Morris out at, when we first upgraded to Collaborate. She was like, I don't see it. It's been 24 hours. I said, well, did you ever get out of it? So I was able to, I can log into the back end server and I could see, and she'd never closed out. So she was still in the session. You have to leave the session, and if you had anybody else in the session, they have to leave. So if you've run a live class with 100 students and one of them just walked away in the middle of class and they didn't go back to their computer, you have to go in and you have to boot them out. Otherwise, your recording will never render until everybody's done. Everybody's got to get out of the pool before you can get that recording.
Right, well, I'm asynchronous, so I'm not worried.
So it's just you. As long as you get out, you're fine. Okay, so let's go back to Blackboard. So what's happening is it's rendering in the background. It's often, Alberta, Canada, someplace, getting processed on their servers. And sooner or later, it's going to show up here. It's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It's probably going to take, it should happen faster, but it doesn't. So give it like a half hour. So if you're lecturing, right before class, that's not going to get up there right away.
No,
so just bear that in mind.
I mean, they're going to have time to. Basically, I'm not doing this the night before. I'm doing it 2 nights before because they're going to look at it the night before. So
then, at some point, you'd come back here to your course, and you could either go. Remember, I had deleted the link to this session, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could either come here to collaborate. So this would be your button for like recorded lectures, okay? And you'd come in and you'd go, oh, yeah, Blackboard Collaborate. It's a recording, start date, end date, do we have anything? So it's not showing up yet, so it's not there, right? I might actually have, if I go back, can I search for, yeah, it doesn't look like I have any recordings in this particular class, which doesn't surprise me. Do I have anything back further than that? No. All right, so I don't have any recordings in here. It doesn't surprise me. But I would, if I clicked on recordings and then started looking here, I would see something that looked like this. There would just be a list of things here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you can do is you could do one of two things. You can either click on it and look at the guest link. And there's the link. You can send that link to anybody. That really long, messy, horrible, rotten link. I'd probably tiny URL it and then send it to somebody, and they could watch your recording, right? Or you can do something like if you click, and this is also the unintuitive part, right? The first unintuitive part, you have to actually just close Collaborate and hope that the recording is actually happening. There's no like process recording button. The second one is once the recording does show up here in Blackboard, if you want to put a link to it in a particular spot, you find it. So, we've gone to Tools, we're finding all the sessions here. If you choose Add Content Item, it gives you basically, what do you want to call it? So here's a chance to name that link, and then where do you want to put it? Do I want to put it in, practice, or do I want to put it in perks, or, course documents? Where do I want that link to appear?
All right, so this is video 1, day 1.
Yeah,
that's there.
So it could
and then
be
perks is videoed lectures.
Yeah, whatever you'd have the column here. All right, and then, and then every single Collaborate session or recording is a pain in the butt. It's either going to say suggested or required. You don't have a choice for it to not to say either one of those. It's going to say one or the other. If you check this box, it will say required. What does that mean? It's just a word underneath the link to it. So students go, oh my God, I should watch this. Half the time they will, half the time they won't. Right? So it's not like there's any meat behind this, the required or suggested. I usually just leave it off because I'm like, let's just leave it as suggested because it's actually kind of optional. And then again, these are the dates to control the link, which you're probably going to put a lecture up and you're going to want people to watch it all summer, have access to it all summer long. So why would you control access to the link? And then you just hit submit. And let's go to this perks button, and this is what it would look like, right? There'd be video 1, day 1, suggested. You could have had a description there if you typed one in there. So a student would just go click on this, and then poof, there it would be. Let me stop.
But that actually went back. That actually goes back to Collaborate now, the Collaborate session.
Yeah,
right?
This goes back to a Collaborate session because it wasn't a recording. Let me stop Camtasia Relay for now. Well, no, I'll keep it going. What the heck? Let's see. Let me go to a different course. Let me see if I have. There must be something here. You'd think I'd have a recording somewhere. Blackboard Collaborate recordings. From like, I think I would have done something. Apparently not. Not in this one. I must have a recording somewhere. Discourse. Talk and tech. Maybe in an organization. Ooh. Drop-in sessions. All right, let's see. All right, bingo. It's like the crapshoot. I know I got something someplace. Okay, so and notice what I did. I was searching for a title. I had no idea what I called it. At first, it was title and contains with blank. I probably wasn't going to find anything anyway. In fact, that might be why I wasn't finding anything before. If you make it, this is Blackboard speak. It's just like for usernames. Username not blank. That'll show you your whole roster. If you've got somebody else's username in there, you're not going to see squat except that person. So here's a whole bunch of recordings that were made, right? So it tells me exactly how long these sessions were.
You made those?
Various and sundry of us made these, so we must have recorded these sessions.
These were recorded live, I guess, right?
Yeah, so these were literally drop-in sessions. So some of these, this 2-hour session might be one of us actually talking, or it might be somebody just like, la, 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 you know, I'm just open, waiting for somebody to show up, and in the meantime, just doing some other work. You can convert your sessions to either MP3s or MP4s, which is kind of cool. So this one has actually been converted to an MP4. So there's a little arrow here. So I think if you click on this, it'll give you the option to down.
Doesn't that make it evergreen?
So evergreen in two different ways. Think of this. I think of evergreen. Oh, see, and it's just playing it. It's going to ask me if I want to download it or not. So evergreen. I think of a video as being evergreen, meaning you can use it from semester to semester to semester to semester, right?
Right.
So Collaborate could be that way, but Collaborate is sort of stuck, you know, being viewed through Blackboard or through a link that you would send to somebody. If you want people to be able to download it to the device of their choice so that they can, you know, freely move it around and hand it about wherever they want. If you have your own web page and you want to actually start putting your MP4s of your recordings up someplace where students could access them, you could do that.
Yeah, right. So if I press download, you know, I don't know where your download thing is on my Mac. It goes right to the desktop,
yeah.
and then it's something I can move around anywhere.
So mine's downloading into my download folder right now,
yeah.
And then you could put it wherever you want.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, what you can't.
And then the next time I have a Blackboard course, I create.
No. But here's the problem.
I add a video to.
Yeah, but you're not going to take your MP4s and then just post them in your Blackboard class.
Why not?
Because those MP4s are big.
Okay.
So here's this one.
Yeah, MP4s are big.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
It's a big file. And if it's, you know, they're going to add up. And you only have 1 gig of quota. And it's going to take up your quota. And when you go...
1 gig is an instructor or 1 gig per course? Or?
1 gig per course.
Okay.
Those files are going to add up.
Okay.
And you're going to run out of quota. And you're going to say, Karen, I have, 52 more lectures I need to put up in my class. And I'm going to go, you're not going to put them up that way.
So that's
you're
why Camtasia goes
in.
to iTunes or to YouTube.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Collaborate, the video that we just saw in Collaborate, so, let me go back.
Well, I can have the videos on my Linux server.
Well, if you want to serve them up yourself, that's your own business. But
yeah.
These videos here, these unconverted ones, these videos, these are, they're on the server in Western Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not taking up our local space.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even taking up our Blackboard server space. They're taking up space on the Blackboard Collaborate servers in Western Canada. So there must be something awesome about Alberta, Canada. And actually, parts of Western Canada are really awesome, but they got a big server farm up there for Collaborate. And you can see, like, this one's been converted because you got the little arrow. These other ones haven't been converted either to MP3 or MP4. If you ever poke this button to convert a file to MP4, and you might actually want to convert them and then save them locally to like a thumb drive just so you have backup copy in case, we ever stop using Blackboard Collaborate or something, right? I mean, that would be the wise thing to do. But if you ever poke this button and it doesn't actually convert, or you go to watch the video and it says, there's a problem, you have to put in an RT ticket, and then I have to put in a ticket with Blackboard Collaborate, because there's no way that I can reset sort of an aborted conversion You can't go in and delete it. I can't go in and delete it even from the server end of things in Western Canada. Like, they have to do it. It's a huge bottleneck. It's a real pain in the butt.
Is that a problem that people have reported in converting?
I know a couple of times it's happened. It happened to John and it happened to one other person, and we tried to figure it out, and then I finally made Joan put in a ticket with Collaborate, and they were like, oh yeah, we have to reset that. And we thought, oh, we've just wasted 2 days trying to figure this out. I mean, that's just a bad plan. You guys should figure this out. So, and we've complained to them about it politely, like this is just not a good situation. So it's happened a couple of times. But probably not a lot. And I don't know how many people are actually converting their things. Some people like that it's, you sort of force students to watch it on through Blackboard. They can't download things, so that, that makes them feel more comfortable. Right? It's not in YouTube and it's not in iTunes, and the student's not going to walk away with a copy of this somehow. Though I still always wonder what the deal is.
I'll be converting them for sure. I mean, I got my hard drive in my Linux box has 300 gigs. I'm not worried.
Well, exactly. So that's, I mean, it's pretty easy overall, right? And if you did want to show somebody, let me see, convert, add content item. Oh, I'm going to, let me just find a different one. Let me just find.
Can we watch one?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So which one did I do? I have absolutely no idea. Oh, so all right, so it's going to open. Oh, I'm in Safari again, so it just downloaded another JNLP. Sorry. So I got to open the JNLP. There it is. It kind of flashed. It's opening.
Students are going to have the same issue?
Well, the same so this is all Java, so it's browser specific. So if a student's browser is set up in such a way that if a student's browser is set up in such a way that it downloads automatically, they're going to need to look for that JNLP. If they're on a PC, it's probably going to pop something up and say, hey, open this. And let me show you, there's one other site. Oh, see, so this is the one John ran. But there's no sound. So I bet he didn't poke the sound button.
No progress bar?
Down here. Oops. Down here. I thought I just heard some sound. Yep, and I just saw the microphone for a second.
Hey, Lynette, this is John. So, Lynette, if you can hear me, in order for you to talk, you have to click the talk button.
Yeah, so see, this is a recording, so you don't have a talk button.
You don't have to hold it.
You don't have the video button.
Now, this is what the students see?
This was John.
And I can choose to have my image up there or not, right?
Yeah, so
you just be blank
could, it could just be blank. You could just put up a static.
So the students actually see this?
Yep, the students see who the participants are. The students see the whole.
So if more than one student is watching the video at night.
Well, no, anything that's here is what was recorded. So this was John back in February. This was a student or an instructor, I'm not sure who, joining into John's Blackboard drop-in session that we run on Collaborate. And this is the chat, so we'll see whatever John typed that night and whatever Lynette typed back, back and forth here. So all of this gets recorded.
But I'm asynchronous.
But you're asynchronous, so it's just going to have your video. It's only going to show your name, and unless you're chatting with yourself down here,
right,
it's not going to show anything.
Yeah, okay.
Yep,
okay.
Exactly. And then, a student can sort of jump ahead.
Yeah, great. That's great.
I mean, and see, it's downloading. This is 25 minutes, right? So it's.
What I'm going to do, just real quick, I just want to check out the course.
So this is all coming from Western Canada still.
So at this point, do you know if Professor Letters has any familiarity with Collaborate?
I don't know. I just came through Blackboard. I saw an announcement. I saw that.
So this must be somebody who's working with a faculty member, right? So for the drop-ins, we generally, depending on who we get, depending on what was going on, we would just record the whole mess. I've done some training, say for the psych TAs, because Adia, let me just stop this. Adia Garrett was like, 88 months pregnant last year, and she was trying to finish her course, and she had to train some TAs and stuff. So I did collaborate training, because if she was going to be on bed rest or something, or pop her baby out early, right? I said, oh, you can be home, lying in bed, and you can still have your lecture and just record it. And your TAs, she was excited because in the summertime, her TAs like the idea of being able to run office hours at night, but not have to be on campus, right? And students don't have to actually be here, so they could run an office hour on, online. Anybody could join in that wanted to the evening before an exam, and they just thought it was really cool. And then they could record the whole thing, so that if a student couldn't attend the office hours but wanted to listen in about all the questions and answers that were asked, it was all recorded, right? So that way they didn't have to start planning, 8 different office hours. Yeah, so this is what it looks like to the students. So let's go back to, let me close out of this one. Do I want to leave? Yes. And students, 20 different students could be watching that recording at once. They would never know somebody else is watching that recording because it's sort of downloaded locally.
Why do you set up your Java to download the JNLP rather than displaying it automatically?
I just have Safari. I use different browsers for different things on this computer, actually sort of generally, and I just like having Safari set to download automatically as opposed to open it up automatically, because inadvertently sometimes I'll download stuff that I actually don't. It's like I didn't mean to download it to begin with, and I certainly don't want to open it up or wait for it to open up. So I just have always been in the habit of having Safari just download directly. And then plus it makes me, I'm a little more cognizant about, let me open this. And let me wait for it to open, as opposed to, click, click, click. Oh, what the hell was I doing, right? I just get frisky with the click button sometimes. So let's go back. Let's see if your recording is back. We were here, and we were here. So let's go here, and let's look for recordings, not blank. Yeah, nothing yet.
Okay, so I can just keep checking.
Yeah, so it'll take a while. And yeah, you have access to this, so you can totally check just to see. Now, if you care. Now, what I'm going to do, we've been blabbering for 42 minutes, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop Camtasia Relay. So I'm going to